Before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The following content regarding social media marketing and business strategy is provided strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. It does not constitute professional legal, financial, or marketing advice. Social media platforms, their algorithms, and the digital advertising landscape are subject to rapid change. Marketing involves inherent risks, including the potential loss of capital and shifts in brand reputation. Every small business operates under a unique set of circumstances, local regulations, and market conditions within the United States. Therefore, viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence, perform independent research, and consult with qualified business or legal professionals before implementing any strategies discussed in this series or making significant financial commitments. The American small business dream is currently under a quiet, digital siege, and most owners do not even realize the walls are closing in until the for lease sign is being hammered into their front window. For decades, the backbone of U.S. commerce was built on three pillars: a good location, a quality product, and the slow, steady hum of word of mouth. But as we move further into 2026, those pillars are no longer structural, they are decorative. Historical trends indicate that a quality product is now simply the ante to get into the game, not the reason you win. In today's high-frequency, attention-based economy, if your business is not effectively represented on the digital screens held in the palms of your local community, your business essentially does not exist. There is a staggering and somewhat controversial reality that many traditional consultants are afraid to tell you: the gold standard of word of mouth is dying. In the past, if a neighbor recommended a local plumber or a boutique in downtown Chicago or a cafe in Austin, that recommendation was the end of the search. Today, that recommendation is only the beginning. The moment a U.S. consumer hears a business name, their first instinct is not to call or visit. It is to search for a social media profile to verify that the business is real, active, and trustworthy. If they find a Facebook page that hasn't been updated since 2022, or an Instagram account with blurry photos and 3 followers, that word-of-mouth recommendation evaporates instantly. The consumer assumes the business is either struggling, closed, or simply out of touch. This is the digital ghost town effect, and it is claiming thousands of small businesses across the country every single year. This masterclass is designed to be the definitive survival guide for the American small business owner who feels overwhelmed by the noise of the digital age. We are going to strip away the fluff, the guru buzzwords, and the get viral myths to look at the cold, hard data of how social media actually drives revenue in a US-based context. Whether you are running a landscaping company in Florida, a tech startup in Seattle, or a family-owned restaurant in Ohio, the principles of human attention remain the same. The problem you are likely facing today is not a lack of hard work or a lack of talent. It is a discovery gap. You are great at what you do, but the people who need your services the most are currently looking at your competitor's content because that competitor understood one simple truth: attention is the new currency, and the algorithm is the new landlord. Over the course of this 10-part deep dive, we are going to bridge that gap. We are going to explore the historical trends that show why certain businesses thrive in a recession while others fold. We will examine case studies of US-based companies that use $0 organic social strategies to build multi-million-dollar local reputations. We are going to break down the specific psychological triggers that cause an American consumer to stop scrolling and actually engage with a brand. This is not about becoming a content creator or an influencer. You are a business owner. Your goal is not likes, your goal is leads, conversions, and customer retention. The promise of this guide is simple. By the end of Part 10, you will have a comprehensive, executable blueprint that allows you to stop guessing and start operating with precision. We will solve the problem of what do I post today by replacing it with a strategic content calendar rooted in consumer psychology. We will solve the problem of, is this even working? By showing you how to track the specific metrics that actually impact your bottom line. We are going to move you from a position of digital obscurity to a position of local authority. Consider the current state of the US market. We are seeing a massive shift in how the different generations spend their money. Millennials and Gen Z now represent the largest combined purchasing power in American history. These demographics do not look at billboards, they do not listen to radio ads, and they certainly do not open the Valpak coupons in their mailboxes. They live in a digital ecosystem where their purchasing decisions are influenced by social proof. If you cannot provide that proof through high-quality video, consistent engagement, and a transparent brand voice, you are voluntarily opting out of the modern economy. But here is the high-stakes reality. Your competitors are already watching. In every US zip code, there is a first-mover advantage currently up for grabs. In many industries, the bar for social media marketing is so low that even a moderate increase in quality and consistency can result in a disproportionate gain in market share. However, as more businesses catch on, the cost of entry will rise. The organic reach that platforms currently offer to small businesses will eventually be gated behind higher and higher paywalls. The window to build a loyal, organic following for your local brand is open right now, but it is closing a little more every day. Throughout this series, we will look at potential outcomes based on different levels of execution. We will see how a local HVAC company in North Carolina used short-form video to explain common furnace issues, resulting in a documented increase in service calls during the winter months because they became the trusted face of the industry before the customer even had a problem. We will look at how a boutique clothing store in New York used Instagram stories to create a VIP feel that drove foot traffic during traditionally slow Tuesday afternoons. This part 1 is about setting your foundation. Before you ever hit post, you must understand the why behind the how. You need to understand that social media for a US small business is not a megaphone. It is a telephone. It is a two-way conversation that allows you to build a parasocial relationship with your community. In a country as large and diverse as the United States, your community might be your local neighborhood, or it might be a specific niche of enthusiasts spread across all 50 states. The stakes could not be higher. We are currently witnessing the greatest transfer of attention in human history. The businesses that adapt to this reality will find themselves with a predictable, scalable way to grow their revenue. The businesses that ignore it will continue to wonder why their tried and true methods are yielding diminishing returns. This is your transition from being a passive observer of the digital world to being an active, dominant player within it. We are going to give you the tools to ensure that when a potential customer in your area picks up their phone to solve a problem, it is your business they find, your story they connect with, and your service they ultimately choose. Welcome to part 1 of the Small Business Social Media Masterclass. It is time to get to work. To understand how to dominate the digital landscape in 2026, we have to first dismantle the outdated notion that all social media platforms are created equal. If you treat every app like a megaphone to blast the same generic message, you are not marketing. You are making noise. In the current US market, consumers have developed a sophisticated filter for what they perceive as authentic versus what they perceive as an intrusion. To break through that filter, you must understand the specific psychology of each platform and, more importantly, exactly who you are talking to within those ecosystems. Let us start with the foundation of any successful campaign in 2026. The ideal customer avatar. Imagine a business owner named David who runs a high-end bicycle repair and custom-build shop in Boulder, Colorado. David knows his bikes, but his marketing is failing because he is trying to speak to everyone. He posts technical specifications about carbon fiber frames on Facebook, where his primary audience is actually parents looking for a sturdy first bike for their kids. Meanwhile, he is posting cute photos of shop dogs on LinkedIn, where professional triathletes are looking for expert performance tips. David is shouting the right things into the wrong rooms. Step 1 in this masterclass is defining your room. Historical trends show that the most successful US small businesses in 2026 do not chase broad reach. They chase deep resonance. You need to ask yourself 5 non-negotiable questions about your target customer. First, what is their primary stressor at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday? For David's custom-build clients, it might be a mechanical failure that ruins their weekend race. Second, where do they go to feel inspired? Third, what is the specific vocabulary they use to describe their problems? Fourth, what is their average household income, and how does that affect their price sensitivity in this current economy? And fifth, what is the one thing they believe about your industry that is actually a myth? When you answer these, you stop being a salesperson and start being a solution provider. Now, let us look at the 2026 platform landscape through the lens of a deep dive case study. Consider a local home renovation company in Charlotte, North Carolina, called Queen City Remodeling. In the past, they might have relied on a static website and some local SEO. But in 2026, the potential outcomes for their business changed the moment they started treating each social platform as a different stage of the customer journey. TikTok has evolved into the ultimate discovery engine. It is no longer just the home of dance challenges. It is where the American consumer goes to learn how things work. For Queen City Remodeling, TikTok is their top-of-funnel tool. They do not post commercials. Instead, they post 60-second clips of the satisfying sound of old tile being demolished, or a fast-paced time-lapse of a kitchen transformation. This taps into the psychological phenomenon of completionism. The goal here is not to sell a $50,000 kitchen renovation in a single video. The goal is to capture the attention of someone like Susan, a homeowner in the Charlotte suburbs who has been thinking about a remodel but has not started the process. By appearing in her For You page with educational content, such as 3 things to check before hiring a contractor, Queen City Remodeling moves from a stranger to a trusted advisor in her mind. Next, we look at Instagram. In 2026, Instagram has solidified itself as the digital storefront and the hub for social commerce. If TikTok is where Susan discovers the business, Instagram is where she goes to vet them. The grid must act as a high-resolution portfolio, but the real magic happens in the stories and reels. This is where the business shows its personality. Historical trends indicate that U.S. consumers are far more likely to hire a service provider if they feel they know the team. Queen City Remodeling uses stories to introduce their lead carpenter, show the messy reality of a job site, and answer live questions. This builds a parasocial relationship. When Susan finally clicks the link in their bio to book a consultation, she does not feel like she is calling a corporation. She feels like she is calling a friend who happens to be an expert. Then there is Facebook, which many younger marketers mistakenly claim is dead. In reality, for a US-based small business, Facebook is the modern-day town square. Its power in 2026 lies in groups and local community pages. This is where the high-stakes word-of-mouth we discussed in Part 1 actually lives. Queen City Remodeling does not just post on their own page. They actively participate in Charlotte area homeowner groups. They do not spam their services. Instead, when someone asks a question about a leaky faucet or a permit requirement, they provide a detailed, helpful answer. This positions them as the local authority. Data shows that when a business provides value in a community group without asking for anything in return, their organic lead generation increases significantly over a 12-month period. Finally, we cannot ignore the rise of YouTube Shorts and long-form video. This is the platform for authority. Imagine if David, our bike shop owner, created a 10-minute video titled The Honest Truth About Electric Bikes in 2026. This video addresses the fears, the benefits, and the technical realities of a booming market. Because YouTube is owned by Google, this content becomes a permanent asset that shows up in search results for years. This is the difference between a fleeting post and a legacy asset. The transition from a beginner to a pro requires understanding the contextual content rule. You cannot simply take a video from TikTok and post it to LinkedIn without changing the framing. On LinkedIn, your tone should be focused on professional growth, industry standards, and B2B relationships. If Queen City Remodeling posts on LinkedIn, they focus on how their renovations increase property value for real estate investors, or how they are implementing sustainable building practices to meet new 2026 environmental standards. Imagine if you could sit in a room with 1,000 of your ideal customers right now. You would not walk in and just start screaming your phone number. You would read the room. You would see who is bored, who is curious, and who is ready to buy. That is exactly what your data and analytics are telling you on these platforms. You must learn to read the dashboard like a cockpit. We are looking for the hook rate, the percentage of people who watched past the first 3 seconds, and the retention rate. How many stayed until the end? In 2026, the algorithm does not care who you are. It only cares if you can hold an American consumer's attention. As we move forward, remember that this is a marathon of consistency, not a sprint of viral moments. The businesses that are winning today are the ones that have mapped their customers' digital habits with surgical precision. They know that a suburban dad in Chicago checks his LinkedIn at 8:30 a.m., his Facebook at noon, and his TikTok at 9 p.m. They show up in those windows with a specific type of content he is looking for in those moments. But knowing where to show up is only half the battle. The real question that keeps most small business owners up at night is, what do I actually say? How do I write a caption that doesn't sound like a used car salesman? How do I structure a video so that people don't swipe away after 2 seconds? In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive deep into the content architecture of 2026. I am going to show you the exact 3-part script formula that works for any industry, the visual hook secrets that stop the scroll, and how to create a month's worth of content in a single afternoon without burning out. If you think you understand how to make a post, wait until you see the psychological triggers we are going to pull in Part 3. Content architecture is the difference between a business that stays stagnant and one that experiences exponential visibility. In 2026, The algorithm has evolved to recognize and reward specific structural patterns that human psychology finds irresistible. To master this, you have to stop thinking like a business owner who is trying to sell and start thinking like a producer who is trying to retain. The most successful content in the United States right now follows a rigid but invisible framework that we call the three-part script formula: the hook, the bridge, and the move. Let us start with the hook. In 2026, the first 1.5 seconds of your video are the most expensive pieces of digital real estate your business will ever own. If you fail here, the rest of your high-quality service does not matter because nobody stayed long enough to hear about it. There are two types of hooks you must master: the visual hook and the verbal hook. A visual hook is a pattern interrupt. Imagine if Marcus, who owns a high-end auto detailing shop in Miami, starts his video not by talking, but by throwing a bucket of thick black mud onto a pristine six-figure white porcelain-coated SUV. That is a pattern interrupt. The viewer's brain immediately screams, "Why did he do that?" And they are forced to stay to see the resolution. The verbal hook works in tandem. Instead of Marcus saying, "Hey guys, welcome back to my shop," he says, "This $5 mistake is stripping the clear coat off your car every time you wash it." He has identified a specific pain point, hinted at a financial loss, and provided a curiosity gap. Historical trends in 2026 show that videos starting with a negative constraint or a myth-busting statement have a 40% higher retention rate than those starting with a greeting. You are not being mean, you are being efficient with the viewer's time. Once you have hooked them, you move into the bridge. This is where most small businesses fail because they immediately pivot to a sales pitch. In 2026, the bridge must be pure, unadulterated value. If we look at the case study of a boutique landscaping firm in Phoenix, Arizona, called Desert Oasis Designs, we see this in action. After a hook about how most homeowners are overwatering their cacti, the bridge does not say, "So call us for a consultation." Instead, the owner, Elena, spends the next 60 seconds showing exactly how to test soil moisture using a simple wooden skewer. She is providing a DIY solution that costs the viewer nothing. This creates a psychological phenomenon known as reciprocity. By the time Elena finishes the explanation, the viewer perceives her as the definitive expert. The bridge should follow the PAS framework: problem, agitation, solution. Elena identifies the problem, root rot. She agitates it by explaining that root rot is invisible until the plant is dead and requires a $300 replacement. Then she provides the solution, the skewer test. This is how you build a brand in 2026. You are not selling landscaping. You are selling the security of a beautiful, healthy yard. Finally, we have the move. This is your call to action, but in 2026, the move must be low friction. If you ask a stranger to buy a $10,000 kitchen remodel in a 60-second video, you will fail. Instead, your move should be the logical next step in the relationship. Case studies of successful U.S. service businesses show that soft CTAs, such as "Read the full maintenance checklist in our bio," or "Comment the word green, and I will send you our local planting guide," outperform hard sales pitches by a ratio of 10 to 1. You are moving them from a passive viewer to an active lead in your ecosystem. Now let us talk about the biggest barrier for every U.S. small business owner: time. You are running a company. You do not have 8 hours a day to play on your phone. This is where content batching becomes your secret weapon. Imagine if you could produce an entire month of high-performing content in a single 4-hour block on a Tuesday morning. This is not a theory. It is a standard operational procedure for the top 5% of earners in the digital space. The step-by-step process for batching in 2026 starts with the hook sheet. Throughout your week, every time a customer asks you a question, you write it down. Those questions are your hooks. If you are a tax professional in Chicago and a client asks about new 2026 home office deductions, that is a video. On your batching day, you do not sit down to write full scripts. You write bullet points for 10 to 15 of these hooks. When it comes to recording, the technical standards have shifted. While smartphone cameras are incredible in 2026, the American audience has a zero-tolerance policy for bad audio. You can have a blurry video, but if your audio is echoing or muffled by wind, they will swipe away instantly. A $50 clip-on microphone is the best investment you can make. Set up your station in a spot with natural light facing you, and record all 15 videos in one go. Do not stop to edit. Do not stop because you stumbled over a word. Just pause, breathe, and restart the sentence. Another critical element of 2026 content architecture is the use of captions. Data indicates that upwards of 70% of U.S. consumers watch social media videos with the sound turned off. while they are in line at Starbucks, on the train, or sitting in a meeting. If your video does not have bold, easy-to-read captions, you are effectively silent to 70% of your potential market. Using AI-driven captioning tools to burn text onto the screen is no longer optional. It is a fundamental requirement for accessibility and retention. Think about the potential outcomes of this structured approach. Imagine a local gym owner in Atlanta named Jordan. Before using this architecture, Jordan posted random clips of people lifting weights with generic music. He got 20 likes and 0 new members. After implementing the 3-part script formula, he started posting videos like why your protein shake is actually stalling your weight loss. He hooked them with a controversial statement, bridged them with nutritional science, and moved them to download his free 7-day meal plan. Within 3 months, his organic reach exceeded his local zip code, and he began seeing a steady stream of new walk-ins who cited his videos as the reason they chose his gym over a national chain. The depth of your content is your moat. In a world where AI can generate generic posts, your specific local human expertise is the only thing that cannot be replicated. When you show your face, use your voice, and solve real problems for your local US community, you are building an asset that grows in value every day. But even with the perfect script and a month's worth of content ready to go, there is a hidden trap that kills most small business accounts before they ever get off the ground. Most people think the work is done once they hit the share button. In reality, the first 60 minutes after you post are a high-stakes battle for algorithmic favor. There are specific, 2026 specific engagement strategies that can turn a post that is flopping into a local viral sensation. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the algorithm secrets of 2026. I am going to show you the golden hour engagement rule, how to handle negative comments without damaging your brand, and the controversial truth about why buying ads might be the fastest way to kill your organic reach if you do it at the wrong time. If you want to know how to make the platforms work for you instead of against you, you cannot miss part 4. The algorithm is not a mystery, a monster, or a random lottery. In 2026, the algorithms governing platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are highly sophisticated prediction engines designed with one singular goal: to keep the user on the platform for as long as possible. For a US small business owner, understanding this is the difference between shouting into a void and having a digital sales force that works for you 24 hours a day. Historical trends indicate that businesses that attempt to trick the algorithm with engagement pods or automated bots are almost always penalized. Instead, the modern approach is to align your business goals with the platform's goals. Let us look at the concept of the interest graph versus the social graph. In the early days of social media, your content was shown to people who followed you. In 2026, that is largely a relic of the past. Today, the interest graph dominates. This means the algorithm analyzes the specific content of your video or post and serves it to people who have shown a high probability of consuming similar content, regardless of whether they follow you or not. This is an incredible opportunity for a small business in a specific niche. Imagine if Thomas owns a specialized HVAC and air filtration company in Phoenix, Arizona. In 2026, Thomas does not need 10,000 followers to get his message in front of the right people. If he creates a high-retention video explaining how to optimize a home cooling system for the extreme heat waves we have seen recently, the algorithm will identify the keywords in his speech, the text on his screen, and the behavior of the initial viewers. It will then push that video specifically to homeowners in the Southwest who have recently searched for energy-efficient cooling or home maintenance. This is the power of the interest graph, but to trigger it, you must master the golden hour. The golden hour refers to the first 60 minutes after your content goes live. During this window, the platform performs a high-stakes stress test. It serves your content to a small, diverse sample group of users. If that group swipe away immediately, the content is flagged as low value and its reach is restricted. However, if that group stays, watches until the end, and interacts, the algorithm opens the floodgates. To maximize the potential outcomes during this hour, you must implement the pre-engagement protocol. 15 minutes before you post, you should be active on the platform. Engage with your existing followers, reply to old comments, and interact with other local businesses in your area. This signals to the platform that you are an active, contributing member of the community, not a broadcast bot. Once you hit publish, your job is only half done. In 2026, the speed of your response to comments is a primary ranking factor. If a potential customer asks a question in the comments and you reply within the first 5 minutes, you are essentially doubling the engagement on that post and telling the algorithm that this is a trending conversation. Consider a case study from a small boutique stationery shop in Savannah, Georgia, called Midnight Ink. The owner, Sarah, noticed that her posts were getting decent views but zero sales. She shifted her strategy to focus on the social SEO and the golden hour. Instead of generic captions, she began using localized keywords that residents and tourists in Savannah actually search for. She also started a 20-minute live engagement session immediately after every post. Historical trends show that by fostering a real-time community, her organic reach grew by 300% over a 6-month period, without spending a single dollar on advertising. This leads us to the controversial intersection of organic reach and paid advertising. Many small business owners in 2026 make the mistake of thinking that if a post is performing poorly, they should throw money at it to boost it. This is a strategic error. In the current digital landscape, paying to promote a piece of content that the algorithm has already deemed boring is like trying to start a fire with wet wood. You are essentially paying the platform to annoy its users. Instead, use the 10% rule. Only apply a paid budget to the top 10% of your best-performing organic posts. If a video has already proven that it can hold the attention of your audience for free, a small targeted ad spend can act as gasoline on that fire. For a US small business, this is how you scale. You use organic content to test your messaging and paid ads to amplify your winners. However, you must be aware of the 2026 relevancy score. Platforms now assign a hidden score to your business account based on how users interact with your ads. If you run ads that get high report rates or are skipped instantly, your overall account health declines, making it harder for your organic posts to be seen in the future. This is why the structure we discussed in Part 3, the hook, bridge, and move, is just as vital for paid ads as it is for organic content. Now, let us discuss the inevitable reality of managing a public-facing brand, negative feedback, and the comments section. In 2026, the way a business handles a critic is often more influential than the original post itself. Imagine a scenario where a local restaurant in Austin, Texas, receives a comment claiming their prices are too high for the portion sizes. A beginner mistake would be to delete the comment or respond defensively. A professional approach, backed by successful case studies, is to use the transparency method. The owner might reply, "I hear you and I appreciate the feedback. In 2026, our costs for locally sourced, organic brisket have increased by 20%, but we refuse to compromise on the quality we provide to our Austin neighbors. We would love to have you back to try our new lunch special, which is designed for high value." This response does 3 things. It validates the customer, it educates the public on the business's values, and it signals to the algorithm that this is a meaningful, high-character interaction. Historical trends show that shoppers are more loyal to brands that display human vulnerability and professional integrity. Another layer of 2026 algorithm mastery is the concept of dwell time. The algorithm is tracking exactly how long a user's screen stays over your post as they scroll through their feed. This is why long, well-structured captions are making a massive comeback. If you can write a caption that tells a compelling story or provides a step-by-step tutorial, the user stays on your post longer to read it. The platform interprets this long stay as a sign of high-quality content, further boosting your reach. You should also be aware of the 2026 shift toward multi-channel synchronization. The platforms are no longer silos. If you are a lawyer in Philadelphia and you post a video on YouTube, the algorithm on Instagram can actually recognize when people start searching for your name on their platform as a result. Maintaining a consistent brand voice across all touchpoints ensures that you are building a cohesive digital footprint that the collective algorithms can categorize and reward. The potential outcomes for a small business that masters these technical nuances are significant. You move from being a victim of the algorithm to being its partner. You start to see a predictable pattern. You post, you engage, you analyze the dwell time, and you amplify the winners. This creates a feedback loop of growth that is shielded from the sudden shifts that often destroy less prepared businesses. But even with the algorithm on your side and your content perfectly structured, there is one final piece of the puzzle that determines whether those views turn into actual dollars in your bank account. You can have 1 million views, but if your digital funnel is broken, you are just a famous person who is still struggling to pay the rent. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the high conversion world of the social sales funnel. I am going to show you how to turn a random viewer into a repeat customer, the exact landing page mistakes that are costing you 50% of your leads, and the 2026 secrets to setting up an automated follow-up system that closes deals while you sleep. If you are ready to turn your social media into a revenue machine, Part 5 is where it all comes together. The vanity metric trap is the silent killer of the American small business in 2026. It is a psychological pitfall where a business owner sees thousands of views on a reel or hundreds of likes on a post and mistakenly equates that engagement with financial health. In reality, views are a top-of-funnel metric that represents awareness, but without a structured social sales funnel, those views are like rain falling on a desert. They evaporate before they can ever reach the roots of your business. To turn your social media into a high-functioning revenue machine, you must build a digital bridge that leads a distracted scrolling consumer from a 15-second entertainment clip to a confirmed transaction. Historical trends in U.S. digital commerce show that the customer journey has become increasingly fragmented. In 2026, a consumer rarely sees an ad and buys immediately. Instead, they engage in a behavior known as the social loop, where they jump between platforms to verify your authority. To manage this, we use the social sales funnel, a four-stage architecture consisting of awareness, consideration, conversion, and advocacy. We have spent the last 3 parts mastering awareness. Now we must bridge the gap into consideration and conversion. Imagine if Amanda, who runs a specialty rare plant boutique in Portland called Areas Greens, gets a video to go viral. She reaches 50,000 people across the Pacific Northwest. If her only call to action is visit our website, she will likely see a 98% bounce rate. Why? Because the modern consumer is suffering from decision fatigue. They clicked a link out of curiosity, not commitment. To solve this, Amanda needs a lead magnet, a high-value, low-friction ethical bribe that gives the user a reason to trade their contact information for immediate value. In 2026, the most effective lead magnets for U.S. small businesses are no longer generic newsletters. They are utility-based tools. Amanda could create a sick plant symptom checker, a simple 3-step digital quiz where users input what their plant looks like and receive a custom care plan via email or SMS. This does 2 things: it solves a specific problem for the customer immediately, and it moves that customer from a platform you do not own like Instagram into a database you do own. Case studies of local service and retail businesses indicate that moving a follower into an email or SMS list increases the potential outcomes of a sale by over 400%, because you are no longer at the mercy of the algorithm to reach them. The transition point from the social media app to your own ecosystem is the landing page, and in 2026, this is where most small businesses fail. Historical data suggests that if your landing page takes longer than 1.2 seconds to load on a mobile device, you lose half of your traffic. Furthermore, your landing page must be designed for the thumb. This means the most important information, the lead capture form, and the social proof must be visible without the user having to scroll. This is called the above-the-fold rule. For a US-based service business, such as Michael's Wood-Fired Pizza Catering in Denver, his landing page shouldn't just be a menu. It should be a conversion engine. When someone clicks his link in bio, they should see a video of a live event, 3 testimonials from local Denver residents, and a clear button that says check date availability. By asking for a small piece of information first, the date of their event, Michael qualifies the lead and reduces the friction of a full booking. Once you have captured the lead, we enter the world of automated nurturing. In 2026, the speed to lead is the most critical factor in closing a deal. If a customer leaves their information and you do not respond for 3 hours, they have already moved on to your competitor. Automation allows you to be present when you are physically busy. Using tools like Zapier or specialized CRMs, you can set up a sequence where the moment someone downloads your guide or checks a date, they receive a personalized text message. This text should not be a sales pitch. It should be a continuation of the conversation. It might say, "Hi, this is Michael from the catering team. I saw you were looking at June 12th. While I check our calendar, here is a quick PDF of our 3 most popular seasonal toppings. Do you have any dietary restrictions I should know about?" This feels human, it adds value, and it prompts a response. This is how you build the social trust bridge. The conversion stage of the funnel in 2026 has been revolutionized by social commerce. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram now allow for frictionless checkout, where the user never even leaves the app. While this is excellent for impulse buys under $50, high-ticket U.S. small businesses, like contractors, consultants, or luxury retailers, must use social media to sell the discovery call or the consultation, not the final product. Consider the potential outcomes for a specialized interior designer in Chicago. Her funnel might look like this: a reel showing a 2026 trend in sustainable flooring awareness, a link to a free lookbook of Chicago lofts, consideration, and an automated invitation to a 15-minute video consultation, conversion. By the time the designer actually speaks to the client has already consumed her content, read her guide, and seen her testimonials. The sale is 80% complete before the first meeting even begins. The final and most neglected stage of the funnel is advocacy. In the United States, your existing customers are your most cost-effective marketing department. In 2026, you must systematize the process of turning a buyer into a brand ambassador. This is done through a post-purchase social sequence. After a customer completes a transaction, your automation should trigger a request for a video review or a social media tag in exchange for a loyalty reward. Imagine if every customer at Amanda's plant shop received a text 2 weeks after their purchase asking, "How is your new Monstera doing? Tag us in a photo for 10% off your next fertilizer." This creates a cycle of user-generated content that feeds back into the top of your funnel as social proof. Historical trends show that a recommendation from a peer carries 10 times more weight than an ad from the business itself. To implement this today, you do not need a massive tech budget. You need a clear map of the customer's psychological state at every touchpoint. Ask yourself, what is the first thing they see when they click my bio? Is it a confusing list of links? Or is it a clear path to a solution? Are my automated messages sounding like a robot or like a helpful neighbor? We have now covered the strategy, the psychology, the algorithm, and the funnel. You have the blueprint for the engine. But an engine is useless without high-quality fuel. In the digital world, that fuel is the creative content itself. Many business owners struggle because they feel they aren't creative enough or don't have the right equipment to produce the volume of content required to keep the funnel full. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to break down the content production factory. I am going to show you how to use 2026 AI tools to script and edit your videos in minutes, the exact lighting and audio setup that costs less than $100 but looks like a professional studio, and the secret to filming an entire week of content on your lunch break. If you have been worried about the technical side of making videos, Part 6 is going to change everything. The technical barrier to entry has officially collapsed in 2026. If you are still waiting for a $5,000 camera setup or a professional film crew to arrive at your storefront before you start posting, you are operating on a 2018 playbook that will leave your business in the dust. The reality of the current US market is that high-production, overly polished commercials are actually viewed with a level of skepticism by the average consumer. In 2026, the American audience craves raw, authentic, and high-utility content that feels like it was made by a real person, not a marketing department. This is the era of the content production factory, where efficiency and consistency outweigh cinematic perfection. Let us start with the hardware because this is where most small business owners waste the most money. Imagine if Carlos, who runs a high-end furniture restoration business in San Diego, spent his entire marketing budget on a cinema camera, only to realize he did not know how to color grade the footage. His videos look dark and unappealing. Historical trends in 2026 show that the sensors in the latest smartphones are more than capable of producing 4K vertical video that the platforms love. The only 3 pieces of physical equipment you actually need to spend money on are a stable tripod, a reliable light source, and a high-quality external microphone. For your audio, you must realize that viewers will tolerate a grainy image, but they will not tolerate grainy sound. In a busy shop or a windy outdoor environment, your phone's built-in mic will pick up every background distraction, making your professional advice sound like a mess. A $100 investment in a wireless lavalier microphone that clips onto your shirt is the single most important upgrade you can make. It ensures that even if you are 6 feet away from the camera, your voice remains clear, intimate, and authoritative. This small technical shift has the potential outcome of doubling your retention rate because people do not have to strain to hear you. When it comes to lighting, do not overthink it. If you have a large window in your office or shop, use it. Natural light is the most flattering light for skin tones and products, provided it is not direct, harsh sunlight. If you are filming in a basement or a windowless warehouse, a simple 2-point LED light setup with softboxes will prevent the harsh shadows that make your content look amateur. Place one light at a 45-degree angle to your face, and the other slightly behind you to create a sense of depth. This creates that professional pop without the professional price tag. Now, let us talk about the 2026 secret weapon: AI-powered scripting and editing. You are a business owner, not a screenwriter. In 2026, we use AI to handle the heavy lifting of ideation. Step 1 is to take the list of customer questions we discussed in Part 3 and feed them into a large language model. You do not ask it to write a script for you. You ask it to give you 5 different ways to hook an audience interested in that specific topic. For example, if Carlos wants to talk about how to protect wood from San Diego humidity, he asks the AI for a controversial hook, a curiosity hook, and a data-driven hook. He then picks the one that feels most like his voice and uses it as the anchor for his video. The editing process has been equally revolutionized. In 2026, manual video editing is a choice, not a necessity. Mobile-first editing apps now feature one-tap AI tools that automatically remove your silence, filler words like and even add dynamic captions that move with your voice. This is crucial because, as we established, 70% of your US audience is watching on mute. These apps can also suggest where to add B-roll, which is the secondary footage you overlay on top of your talking head. If Carlos is talking about a specific varnish, the AI can prompt him to insert a 5-second clip of that varnish being applied. This visual variety is what keeps the 2026 consumer from scrolling past. The true secret to staying consistent is the lunch break method. Most small business owners fail because they try to film one video every single day. This is a recipe for burnout. Instead, you must treat content production like an assembly line. Imagine if Carlos sets aside just 60 minutes every Tuesday during his lunch break. He has his tripod already set up in the corner of his workshop. He brings 3 different shirts to change into so that the videos look like they were filmed on different days. In that 60-minute window, Carlos records 10 separate videos. He does not strive for a perfect take. If he messes up a sentence, he just snaps his fingers to create a visual spike in the audio waveform and restarts that sentence. He knows that his AI editing software will find those snaps and cut out the mistakes automatically later. By the time his lunch hour is over, he has a week and a half of content ready for the editing phase. This batching strategy transforms content from a daily burden into a managed business process. Let us look at a case study of a bakery in Nashville called Flour Power. The owner, Sarah, was overwhelmed by the idea of social media. She started using the lunch break method, filming quick 30-second tips on how to keep bread fresh or why her sourdough starter is named Martha. Because she used a consistent setup and simplified her editing through AI tools, her production time dropped from 5 hours a week to 90 minutes. The potential outcomes were dramatic. Her local reach increased as the algorithm recognized her consistency, and she saw a 25% increase in pre-orders for her weekend batches because her face was constantly in her customers' feeds. Another vital element of the 2026 production factory is the thumbnail and headline. In the United States, we are a visual-first culture. Your video could be the most informative piece of content in your industry, but if the thumbnail is a blurry shot of your ceiling, no one will click. In 2026, you can use your smartphone to take a high-contrast photo of yourself making a clear facial expression or holding your product. Overlay 3 to 4 words of bold text that create a curiosity gap. If Carlos makes a thumbnail with a piece of ruined furniture and the text "the $5,000 mistake," he has virtually ensured a higher click-through rate than a thumbnail that just says "wood tips." The depth of your content factory also relies on repurposing. A single 60-second video should not just live on TikTok. In 2026, the successful US small business takes that same video, removes the watermark, and posts it as a YouTube short, an Instagram reel, and a Facebook reel. Because the interest graphs on these platforms are different, the same video might flop on one and go viral on another. By distributing your content across all channels, you are maximizing the surface area of your luck. You now have the technical blueprint to produce high-quality, high-retention content without the need for a Hollywood budget. You know how to set up your studio, how to use AI to bypass writer's block, and how to batch your filming so it doesn't interfere with your actual work. You are no longer an amateur. You are a content producer for your own brand. However, even with the best videos in the world, there is a ceiling to how much organic growth can achieve in a crowded 2026 market. There comes a time when every successful US small business must decide to put fuel on the fire. But if you do it wrong, you will set your marketing budget on fire instead of your growth. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the world of paid social media for small business. I am going to show you how to start with as little as $5 a day, the exact targeting settings that find customers within 5 miles of your front door, and why the Boost Post button is a trap that you must avoid at all costs. If you are ready to scale your reach with precision, Part 7 is where we talk about the money. The transition from organic content to paid social media marketing is often the moment where a small business owner either accelerates their growth or drains their bank account with nothing to show for it but a handful of digital vanity metrics. In 2026, the digital advertising landscape has become a game of precision, not a game of volume. Historical trends show that the businesses that succeed are those that treat their ad spend as a scientific experiment rather than a gamble. To do this, you must first understand why the most prominent button on your professional dashboard, the Boost Post button, is the single greatest trap in the modern marketing ecosystem. When you click Boost Post, you are essentially telling the platform to find people who are likely to click like or comment. While this feels good for the ego, likes do not pay the rent in a 2026 economy. The Boost button bypasses the sophisticated controls of the Ads Manager, stripping away your ability to define a specific conversion event, such as a lead form submission or a website purchase. Imagine if Jackson, who owns a specialized artisanal coffee roastery in Columbus, Ohio, decided to boost a beautiful video of his roasting process. He spends $200 and gets 500 likes. However, because the Boost button defaults to a broad audience, 300 of those likes came from people in California and New York who will never set foot in his Columbus shop. Jackson has effectively donated his marketing budget to the platform. Instead, the professional approach for a US-based small business is to utilize the full Ads Manager to build what we call the $5 a day precision engine. The potential outcomes of this strategy are far more sustainable because it allows for granular testing. In 2026, you should never put your entire budget behind a single creative idea. Instead, you create a campaign with a specific objective such as lead generation or store traffic. Under that campaign, you create 3 different ad sets, each testing a different hook or a different audience segment. Let us look at a case study of a local dog grooming and pet spa in Tampa, Florida, called the Pampered Paw. The owner, Marcus, had a limited budget of $15 a day. Instead of boosting posts, he set up 3 ad sets at $5 each. The first ad set targeted a broad 5-mile radius around his shop. The second ad set targeted people within that same radius who were specifically interested in dog shows and organic pet food. The third ad set was a retargeting audience, people who had already watched at least 50% of his organic educational videos from the previous month. By the end of the first week, the data was clear. The broad audience was expensive, costing $4 per click. The interest-based audience was better at $2 per click. But the retargeting audience, the people who already knew Marcus's face from his organic content, was producing clicks for 50 cents and, more importantly, booked appointments for less than $10 each. This is the invisible funnel in action. You use your organic content to warm up the cold local market, and you use your paid ads to close the deal. In 2026, the most powerful tool for a local business is hyperlocal radius targeting. If you run a physical brick-and-mortar store or a local service business, you do not need to target the entire United States. You should be using the drop pin method. You drop a pin on your physical address and set a radius of 3 to 5 miles. This ensures that every cent of your $5 a day budget is being seen by someone who can actually drive to your location or whom you can realistically serve. But targeting is only half the battle. In 2026, creative is the new targeting. Because privacy regulations and platform shifts have made it harder for algorithms to track specific user data, the algorithm now relies on who stops to watch your ad to determine who else should see it. This means your ad must look like content, not like a commercial. Imagine if a local dentist in Phoenix, Arizona, ran an ad. A traditional ad would be a static photo of a smiling person with the text 20% off cleaning. In 2026, that ad is ignored. A high-performing ad would be a 30-second vertical video of the dentist standing in front of his equipment saying, "If you are seeing this, you probably live in Phoenix and you might be overpaying for your dental insurance. Here are 3 things most offices won't tell you." This leads us to the math of the customer acquisition cost, or CAC. To run a sustainable business in the US, you must know what it costs you to get a new customer and what that customer is worth to you over their lifetime. Historical trends suggest that many small businesses quit their ads too early because they look at the immediate cost rather than the long-term value. If the Phoenix dentist spends $20 to get one person in the chair for a cleaning, he might barely break even on that first visit. However, if that patient stays with the practice for 5 years, their lifetime value could be several $1,000s. Understanding this math allows you to be aggressive with your ad spend while your competitors are timid. The structure of a high-converting 2026 ad follows a specific sequence. We call it the Hook Insight Offer Urgency Framework. The hook stops the scroll. The insight provides a piece of value or solves a small problem. The offer gives them a reason to take action right now. The urgency tells them why they shouldn't wait. For example, a local HVAC company in North Carolina might use a hook like, "Is your AC unit making a clicking sound?" The insight explains that a clicking sound often means a capacitor is about to fail. which could lead to a $2,000 compressor replacement. The offer is a $50 preventative tune-up. The urgency is that they only have 10 slots available for the upcoming heat wave week. Another critical component of your paid strategy in 2026 is the lead form. For service-based businesses, sending people to a complicated website is often where the lead dies. Social platforms now offer on-platform lead forms. These forms autofill the user's name and email directly from their profile. This reduces friction and significantly lowers your cost per lead. Case studies from the insurance and real estate sectors show that using on-platform forms can increase lead volume by up to 60% compared to external landing pages. However, you must be careful with the quality of these leads. In 2026, it is better to have 10 high-quality leads than 100 low-quality ones. You can improve lead quality by adding a qualifying question to your form. For a roofing contractor in Texas, this might be a question like, "Is your roof more than 15 years old?" By making the user do a small amount of work, you filter out the window shoppers and ensure your sales team, or you, are only calling people who are ready to buy. As we scale, we move from the $5 a day testing phase into the scaling phase. This is where you increase the budget of your winning ad sets by no more than 20% every 48 hours. Moving too fast can reset the algorithm's learning phase and cause your costs to spike. You are looking for a stable return on ad spend, or ROAS. If you put $1 in and get $3 out in profit, your goal is to keep that engine running as long as the market can support it. The potential outcomes for a small business that masters this paid precision are transformative. You stop being a victim of slow months, because you have a faucet you can turn on whenever you need more business. You move from a place of uncertainty to a place of calculated growth. But even with a perfect ad and a perfect funnel, your business will eventually hit a plateau if you are only focused on the new. The most successful U.S. businesses in 2026 know that the real profit isn't in the first sale. It is in the community you build around your brand. Many business owners treat social media like a one-way broadcast, but the platforms are rewarding those who treat it like a two-way street. In a world of AI-generated content and automated ads, human connection has become the ultimate premium. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the art of community management and engagement. I am going to show you how to turn your comment section into a goldmine for product ideas, the unboxing psychology that turns customers into fans, and the specific daily routine that builds a loyal tribe that will defend your business against any competitor. If you want to move from being a vendor to being a community staple, Part 8 is the key. The transition from a business that people simply use to a brand that people actively love happens in the comment section and the direct messages. In 2026, the American consumer is hyper-aware of being marketed to. They can spot a canned response from a mile away. Historical trends indicate that the businesses achieving the highest retention rates are those that have shifted their perspective from managing a customer base to cultivating a digital tribe. A tribe is not just a group of people who buy from you. It is a community that feels a sense of ownership in your success. To achieve this, you must master the art of social listening and the proactive engagement protocol. Imagine if a local independent bookstore owner in Portland named Julian noticed a trend in his comments. Instead of people just asking if a book was in stock, they were debating the merits of various 2026 science fiction releases. Instead of just liking those comments, Julian decided to treat his comment section like a forum. He began pinned comment discussions, asking the community to vote on which author he should invite for a virtual Q&A. By doing this, Julian stopped being a shopkeeper and started being a community curator. The potential outcomes of this shift are profound. His customers no longer see themselves as shoppers. They see themselves as members of a club. When a national chain opens 2 blocks away with lower prices, Julian's tribe stays loyal because you cannot buy a community at a discount. The first step in your daily routine should be the 20-20-20 rule. This is a system designed to ensure your social presence remains human and high frequency, without taking over your entire workday. Spend 20 minutes in the morning responding to every single comment and DM from the previous night. Do not just use a thumbs up. Ask a follow-up question. If someone says, "Great post," you reply with, "Thanks, Maria." Which part of the tip did you find most helpful for your specific situation? This forces the algorithm to recognize a deep conversation rather than a superficial interaction. The second 20 minutes, typically around noon, should be dedicated to proactive local engagement. In 2026, you cannot wait for the audience to find you. You must go to them. Use the search function to look for local hashtags or geotags related to your city. If you are a plumber in Charlotte, Search for the hashtag Charlotte homeowners or the location tag of a popular local hardware store. Find people who are posting about their home improvement projects and leave a genuine non-sales focused comment. Something as simple as "that tile choice looks incredible. The natural light in that room really makes it pop." Puts your brand in front of a local prospect in a way that feels organic and helpful. The final 20 minutes of your day are for social listening. This is where you analyze the sentiment of the conversations happening around your industry. What are people complaining about? What are they wishing for? Case studies of successful U.S. startups in 2026 show that the best product or service innovations often come directly from listening to what the market says it lacks. If you own a pet grooming business and you see multiple people in local groups complaining that it is hard to find appointments after 6 p.m., you have just discovered a market gap. You can then create content that says, "We heard you, Austin. Starting next month, we are opening for Twilight Grooming on Tuesdays and Thursdays." This level of responsiveness builds a level of trust that no billboard can replicate. Now, let us discuss the psychology of the unboxing and the physical to digital bridge. Even if you are a service-based business, you provide a physical experience. In 2026, every touch point of your business should be designed to be shared. This is known as the Instagrammable moment. Imagine if Sarah, who runs a boutique interior design firm in Nashville, finishes a project. Instead of just sending an invoice, she leaves a curated welcome home basket on the new kitchen island with a small, aesthetically pleasing card that has a QR code on the back. That QR code leads to a personalized video of Sarah, explaining the care instructions for the new materials. The customer is almost certain to film that basket and share it to their Instagram stories, tagging Sarah's business. This is user-generated content, or UGC, and it is the most valuable form of social proof in existence. Historical trends show that U.S. consumers trust a friend's story 10 times more than a sponsored ad. By designing your service to trigger a share, you are essentially turning your customers into a high-conversion sales force. You should then take that UGC with permission and feature it on your own profile. This creates a feedback loop where potential customers see real people in their own community enjoying your work. However, a growing tribe also means you will eventually face the challenge of negative sentiment. In 2026, the way you handle a public complaint is a high-stakes moment for your brand reputation. Never delete a negative comment unless it is vulgar or spam. A deleted comment is a missed opportunity to show your integrity. Consider a case study of a specialized tech repair shop in San Jose. A customer left an angry comment claiming their laptop screen was still flickering after a repair. The owner did not get defensive. He replied, "I am so sorry to hear the issue persisted, David. Our goal is 100% functional repairs. Please bring it back in today. I have personally cleared a spot on our lead technician's bench to look at it immediately at no extra charge." This response transformed a potential PR disaster into a demonstration of elite customer service. Other people reading that thread did not see a failing business. They saw a business that stands behind its work. In 2026, your audience is looking for character, not perfection. They know mistakes happen, they want to see how you fix them. To truly become a community staple, you must also embrace the behind-the-scenes content. People in the United States in 2026 are increasingly cynical about faceless corporations. They want to see the person behind the brand. This means showing the messy desk, the early morning coffee, the team celebration after a big project, and even the occasional failure. This humanizes the business. When you show the face of your employees and tell their stories, you are building a multidimensional brand. Think about the potential outcomes of this deep community integration. You move from a transactional relationship, where the customer is just looking for the lowest price, to a relational one, where the customer feels a sense of loyalty. This loyalty is your greatest defense against economic shifts or new competitors entering the market. You are no longer just a vendor of goods or services. You are a recognized and respected part of the local ecosystem. But building a community is only part of the equation. As your tribe grows and your content reaches more people, you will find yourself overwhelmed by a different problem: the sheer volume of data. You will have numbers coming at you from every platform: reach, impressions, click-through rates, and conversion costs. If you cannot read the story the data is telling you, you will not know which parts of your community building are actually driving the bottom line. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the world of social media analytics and scaling. I am going to show you which 3 metrics actually matter in 2026 and which ones you should ignore, how to use your data to predict your next month's revenue, and the exact moment you should transition from a solopreneur managing your own social media to hiring a dedicated team. If you want to know how to turn your digital community into a scalable, predictable business asset, Part 9 is where we break down the numbers. Data is the language of the algorithm, and if you cannot speak it, you are essentially flying a plane without an instrument panel. In the early days of social media, a small business owner could look at their follower count and feel a sense of accomplishment. In 2026, we know that follower count is a vanity metric that often has zero correlation with the cash flow of a US-based enterprise. To scale from a local operation to a regional or national powerhouse, you must move beyond the surface-level numbers and dive into the deep tissue analytics that dictate your growth. Historical trends show that the businesses that survive economic shifts are those that understand their math. The first metric that matters more than any other in 2026 is retention and dwell time. Imagine if Chloe, a luxury real estate agent in Miami, posts a high-end property tour. She gets 10,000 views. Most people would celebrate. However, when Chloe looks at her analytics, she sees that the average view duration is only 4 seconds on a 2-minute video. This is a red flag. It tells the algorithm that her hook was potentially misleading, or that her content did not deliver on its promise. In 2026, the platforms prioritize dwell time, the total number of minutes a user spends on your content, above almost everything else. To fix this, Chloe needs to analyze the retention graph. This is a literal line showing exactly when people stopped watching. If there is a sharp drop-off at the 10-second mark, she needs to look at what happened in the video at that moment. Did she start talking about herself instead of the house? Did the audio quality dip? By identifying these drop-off points, she can refine her future scripts to keep the audience engaged for longer. Potential outcomes of increasing your average view duration by just 10% can lead to a 50% or higher increase in organic reach, as the algorithm identifies your content as high value for the user's time. The second critical metric is the social conversion rate, often measured through attribution. In a world of fragmented attention, you must know which specific posts are actually driving revenue. In 2026, we use a combination of UTM parameters and first-party data to track the customer journey. Imagine if Robert, who owns a chain of boutique fitness studios in Chicago, is running campaigns across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Without proper attribution, Robert might think TikTok is his best platform because it gets the most likes. However, when he looks at his lead capture data, he realizes that 80% of his actual memberships are coming from people who watched his longer, more educational YouTube videos. Robert's data shows that while TikTok provides high awareness, YouTube provides high intent. This insight allows Robert to reallocate his marketing budget and his time. Instead of spending 5 hours a week on TikTok trends, he shifts that energy into one high-quality YouTube deep dive per week. Historical trends in the US market suggest that intent-based platforms often yield a much higher lifetime value, LTV per customer, even if the initial reach is smaller. You must track the source of every lead that enters your funnel. If you are not asking your customers, "Where did you first hear about us?" you are leaving your growth to chance. The third and most vital metric is the relationship between your customer acquisition cost, CAC, and your lifetime value, LTV. This is the ultimate health check for any American small business. Let us look at a case study of a specialized subscription-based coffee roastery in Seattle. They spend an average of $30 in ad spend and content production time to acquire one new subscriber. If that subscriber only stays for 1 month and pays $25, the business is losing money. However, the data shows that the average subscriber stays for 14 months, making their LTV $350. In 2026, understanding this ratio allows you to scale with confidence. If you know that every $30 you spend results in $350 of revenue over time, you are no longer spending money, you are buying future cash flow. The goal for a healthy US small business is a ratio of at least 3 to 1. If your CAC is too high, you need to work on your content efficiency or your ad targeting. If your LTV is too low, you need to work on your community management and customer retention strategies, which we discussed in Part 8. Now, let us talk about the scaling threshold. Many business owners ask, when should I stop doing this myself and hire a team? The answer lies in the opportunity cost calculation. Imagine if you are a consultant in New York billing $400 an hour. If you are spending 10 hours a week editing your own videos, you are effectively paying $4,000 a week for video editing. You can hire a professional US-based editor or a specialized agency for a fraction of that cost. In 2026, The three-tier hiring model is the standard for scaling. Tier 1 is the specialized editor. This is the first person you hire. They take your raw footage and apply the 2026 retention editing techniques we've discussed: captions, B-roll, and sound design. This frees you up to focus on the high-value task of being the face of your brand. Tier 2 is the social media manager, who handles the engagement, the 20-20-20 rule, and the scheduling. Tier 3 is the analyst, who looks at the data across all platforms to adjust the overall strategy. When you reach this level, your social media is no longer a hobby or a chore. It is a department within your company. You move from reactive posting to predictive modeling. Using your historical data, you can begin to forecast your next month's growth. If your data shows that for every 5,000 views you get 5 leads, and for every 5 leads you get 1 sale, then you know exactly how many views you need to hit your revenue goals. This level of clarity removes the anxiety from marketing. You stop wondering if it is working and start measuring how well it is working. Consider the potential outcomes for a small landscaping franchise that moved to a data-driven model. By analyzing their seasonal trends, they discovered that their content regarding backyard drainage systems performed 300% better in the early spring than any other topic. By doubling down on that specific content niche and increasing their ad spend during those months, they were able to book their entire year's worth of high-margin projects by the end of April. This is the power of using data to work smarter, not harder. In 2026, we also have the advantage of AI-driven analytics. Platforms now offer automated insights that can tell you things like, your audience in the Midwest is engaging 20% more with your videos than your audience on the West Coast. Or your videos perform best when you wear a blue shirt and stand in your kitchen. While some of this might seem trivial, these patterns are the signals that the algorithm uses to categorize your brand. By leaning into what the data says is working, you are swimming with the current instead of against it. However, even with a perfect team and a data-driven strategy, there is one final hurdle every business must clear to truly dominate the US market. Many people reach this stage and get comfortable, only to be wiped out by a sudden platform shift or a change in consumer behavior. To be truly bulletproof, you need a long-term roadmap that transcends any single app or algorithm. You need to know how to take all of these pieces, the hooks, the funnels, the ads, and the data, and weave them into a 12-month dominant strategy. In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to build your 2026 social dominance roadmap. I am going to show you how to plan your entire year in a single weekend, the secret to staying relevant when everyone else is getting boring, and how to future-proof your business against the next big digital shift. This is where we take everything we have learned and turn it into a legacy. You do not want to miss the conclusion in Part 10. The journey from digital obscurity to local dominance is not a result of a single viral moment, but the cumulative effect of 1,000 small strategic decisions. As we conclude this 10-part masterclass in 2026, you must understand that your social media presence is no longer a side project. It is the most valuable and tangible asset on your balance sheet. To solidify this asset, you need a high-resolution roadmap that covers the next 12 months, transforming the disparate tactics we have discussed into a unified, self-sustaining growth engine. This is the stage where we move beyond the how-to and enter the realm of long-term legacy. Imagine Liam, who owns a specialized performance auto shop in Detroit called Motor City Restorations. In early 2026, Liam was struggling with the high cost of traditional local leads. By following the 2026 social dominance roadmap, he transitioned from a reactive business to a proactive brand. In the first 90 days, which we call the foundation phase, Liam focused on volume and habit. He used the lunch break method to produce 3 high-retention vertical videos a week. He didn't worry about the perfect aesthetic. He focused on solving one specific problem per video, such as how to identify a failing transmission by sound. Historical trends indicate that businesses that survive the first 90 days of consistent posting have a 70% higher chance of long-term success because they have crossed the threshold of the habitual creator. Moving into the second quarter, the refinement phase, Liam stopped guessing and started listening to his data. He looked at his retention graphs and realized that whenever he showed the interior of a high-end engine, his dwell time increased by 40%. He adjusted his content architecture to include more of these visual money shots early in the hook. He also implemented the 20-20-20 engagement rule, spending his mornings talking to local car enthusiasts in Detroit-based Facebook groups. This was not about selling, it was about being present. The potential outcomes of this phase are the stabilization of your organic reach and the identification of your winning content pillars. By the third quarter, the scaling phase, Liam was ready to put fuel on the fire. He took his top 3 performing organic videos and turned them into $5 a day precision ads, targeting a 10-mile radius around his shop. He used the on-platform lead forms we discussed in Part 7 to capture inquiries from people who needed performance tuning. Because his organic content had already warmed up the local audience, his cost per lead was 50% lower than the industry average. This is the point where social media moves from a cost center to a profit center. In the final quarter of his first year, the legacy phase, Liam focused on his tribe. He started a monthly live-streamed Q&A session where he answered technical questions for free. He encouraged his customers to film their first drive after a restoration and tag his shop. This created a flood of user-generated content that acted as a permanent endorsement for his business. By the end of 2026, Liam wasn't just a mechanic in Detroit. He was the authority on performance restorations in the entire Midwest. To future-proof your business against the inevitable shifts of 2027 and beyond, you must embrace the concept of decentralized marketing. While we have focused on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, you must remember that you do not own these platforms. They are rented land. The ultimate goal of your social media strategy is to move your tribe from rented land to owned land. This means your email list and your SMS database are the final destination of every funnel. Historical trends show that during platform outages or algorithm shifts, businesses with a robust, off-platform relationship with their customers remain unaffected, while those dependent solely on the algorithm see their revenue vanish overnight. Furthermore, you must prepare for the deeper integration of AI-driven search. In 2026, consumers are no longer just scrolling. They are asking their AI assistants to find the best local businesses. Your social media content provides the data that these AI models use to make recommendations. If you have hundreds of videos explaining your expertise, dozens of customer testimonials, and a high level of engagement, the AI will categorize your business as a high-trust entity. This is the new SEO. It is not about keywords and a meta tag. It is about the depth and authenticity of your digital footprint. Let us look at a potential outcome for a service-based business, such as an estate planning attorney in Atlanta named Sarah. In a high-stakes, high-trust industry, Sarah uses social media to humanize a topic that most people find intimidating or boring. She creates a series called 2026 Legacy Myths, where she deconstructs common misconceptions about inheritance laws in Georgia. By being the most helpful person in her niche, she removes the friction of the initial consultation. Her social media acts as a pre-screening tool, ensuring that by the time a client walks into her office, they already know her values, her expertise, and her personality. This is the true power of social media for a U.S. small business. It scales the one thing that was previously unscalable: your personal trust. The final element of your roadmap is the mindset of the infinite player. Most business owners look at social media as a task to be completed. The masters look at it as an ongoing conversation with their market. You must be willing to experiment, to fail publicly, and to adapt. If a new feature launches on Instagram tomorrow, do not grumble about the change. Be the first in your local area to master it. The first mover advantage in small business social media is massive. When you are the first one in your zip code to use a new format or a new storytelling technique, the algorithm rewards you with disproportionate reach. As you step out of this masterclass and into the execution phase, remember that the only failed post is the one you didn't share. The American consumer in 2026 is looking for a reason to choose you over a generic, faceless corporation. Give them that reason by being the most transparent, most educational, and most consistent voice in your industry. You have the blueprint, the technical setup, the funnel strategy, and the analytical framework. The only thing left is the discipline to show up, day after day, and build your digital legacy. Your business is the backbone of the American economy, and in the digital age, your voice is your most powerful tool. Use it to build a community that lasts. Use it to solve problems before you ever ask for a dollar. Use it to tell the story of why you do what you do. When you lead with value, the revenue follows as a natural byproduct of the trust you have established. We have reached the end of this deep dive series, but your journey is just beginning. You now possess a comprehensive understanding of social media marketing that puts you ahead of 95% of your competitors. However, the landscape of 2026 is moving fast, and there is one emerging trend that is about to change how we think about local search forever. While we have mastered the video and the funnel, a new frontier of spatial marketing and augmented reality is beginning to bridge the gap between the digital screen and the physical storefront in ways we never thought possible. If you want to see how the most innovative US brands are preparing for this next leap, you will want to stay tuned for our upcoming deep dive into the future of local discovery. The era of the social small business is here, and you are now ready to lead it.